evacuations lifted, what residents in northern Saskatchewan are returning to. A notable change for Saskatchewan's Jazz Festival, why its title sponsor is hanging up after years of support. And some Saskatchewan hunters facing mandatory testing, how the plan could help preserve the health of wildlife.
This is CTV News with Chantel Saunders.
Good evening. The evacuation orders for Saskatchewan communities have now been lifted. And as residents have and are returning home, the focus is already on planning for the next wildfire season. Jasmine Pelche has the details.
Residents of Beauval have returned from evacuation and can now see the extent of wildfire damage to the surrounding forest.
The village right now is concerned about the safety of the trees that are, the roots have been burnt. So it's right down and it's right to the edge of our houses.
Mayor Rick LaLiberty says he hopes that northern communities can work with the province to prepare for future wildfire seasons.
Our fire brigade is well in tune of how to deal with firefighter and structural fires now. So we're trying to revitalize their efforts and also train people as well.
Last week, around 2,500 people were listed as evacuees. Now everyone has been allowed to return home.
The number of total evacuees is comparable to 2015, where we had large-scale evacuation in Saskatchewan. I do not have the exact numbers here, and we do not have exact numbers for total value loss, damage loss in Saskatchewan.
The Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency says favorable wildfire conditions have allowed for evacuation orders to be lifted.
One of the criteria before they return is having a discussion with their community to make sure that they are both secure and have the resources they need to go back.
Residents from the First Nation community of La Plonge were among the last to return home on Monday. As of this afternoon, there are 49 active wildfires in the province. 6 are not contained. Jasmine Pelche, CTV News, Prince Albert.
Premier Scott Moe has given the federal government a personal invitation to try and save the canola industry. The mission, if they choose to accept it, a trip to China, where Moe hopes to convince his counterparts there to move the tariffs on the Canadian canola products. Regina DeClute has more.
Premier Scott Moe is vowing to take a long journey to protect the Canadian canola industry.
We're going to go to China. We're hopeful that the federal government will have representation alongside of us, and we're hopeful that we'll be able to support them in putting an end to, some of these trade tariffs that we see.
Making those comments at a news conference in Yorkton. The event was held at Richardson Oilseed, one of North America's largest canola processing facilities.
In Canada, we have a $45 billion canola industry, employing over 200,000 Canadians, some of them right here at this plant and many of them right here in this community.
Last week, China upped its levies against Canadian canola to nearly 76%, which has already had a devastating effect. Moe was in Yorkton to announce provincial support for a road that literally paves the way for the canola industry.
This investment by the province reinforces the vital role this connector plays in strengthening both our local economy and Saskatchewan's leadership in agriculture.
The Premier described the announcement as a vote of confidence amid the growing economic concerns regarding China's canola tariffs.
About $4 billion of agricultural products flow to China from the province of Saskatchewan each and every year. And we need to work alongside our federal government in ensuring that those two markets are our highest priority.
CTV News asked the Minister of Industry why the federal government has yet to take any action to support farmers.
We will be there to support our canola industry. We will be there to support our farmers. And I know that the Prime Minister and the Minister of Agriculture have been working together to address this issue.
The Federal Ag Minister and Parliamentary Secretary to the Prime Minister will be meeting with Moe, the Provincial Ag Minister, Export Development Minister, and leaders from the canola sector in Saskatoon on Thursday. Regina DeClute, CTV News, Yorkton.
The Premier also speaking on BHP's decision to delay the completion of the Jansen potash mine southeast of Saskatoon, saying the government has been in contact with company representatives and remains confident in BHP's investment in the project.
In may be slowed a year or two. We're very grateful and thankful that they have the confidence to make such a significant investment, the largest that company has ever made right here in our province.
In response to the NDP's calls for the province to drop the PST on construction costs over the delay, the Premier added that hasn't been requested by BHP, and the tax environment in Saskatchewan remains the same as it did when the project was announced. The mine is now scheduled to be fully operational in 2031. Postal is scaling back its support for the Saskatchewan Jazz Festival. The decision has left organizers searching for a new title sponsor. CTV's Laura Woodward has the story.
For the first time in nearly 30 years, Postal won't be attached to the name of the Saskatchewan Jazz Festival. The Crown Corporation has held naming rights since 1998, a sponsorship that comes with an annual price tag of $150,000.
It puts us in a tricky position. That's unavoidable, and it's a vulnerable position.
Organizers are busy searching for a new major sponsor, but say there's no bad blood with Sask.
We're the 10th jazz festival in Canada to have lost our title sponsor in about the last 2 years or so. This is something that's been endemic to the industry.
In an email to CTV News, Sask says it will still be involved in the festival, just at a smaller scale. Quote, "This change is in no way a reflection of the quality or impact of the Saskatchewan Jazz Festival, which we continue to respect and admire." By backing off as title sponsor, Sask says it's better positioned to support other causes in the province. This year, more than 30,000 people attended the Saskatchewan Jazz Festival, which is held each summer in Saskatoon. Laura Woodward, CTV News, Saskatoon.
We'll have another hot one out there today.
Another hot one, and of course, the potential for some nasty weather is certainly there. We'll take a quick look at our satellite and radar shot here. And as you can see, we've got ourselves a lot of active weather across the prairie provinces. And as we make our way into the evening hours, it's expected to see a lot of rain starting particularly in northern areas and continuing to tomorrow. So there could be a lot of wet conditions up north, and we'll talk more about that later on.
The mayor of Tisdale has resigned from office. A statement from the town of Tisdale says Mayor Roy Skoglund resigned last week. He was elected last November. The town wouldn't elaborate on why he resigned, but thanked him for his 9 months of service and dedication. Skoglund posted on social media saying the demands of the role and lack of fair remuneration made it increasingly challenging to balance family and community responsibilities. Meanwhile, a city councillor in North Battleford has resigned after pleading guilty to assault. Ross McAngus won a seat on council by 2 votes in November's civic election, prompting a recount. Later that month, he was charged with sexual assault following a complaint by a woman. He has since pleaded guilty to assault. On Monday, McAngus resigned from council, citing personal reasons, but will stay on until the end of the month. He is scheduled to be sentenced next month on the assault charge. The city of North Battleford has up to 6 months to hold a by-election to fill the vacant seat. The province is tasking hunters in certain parts of the province to test animal heads for 2 infectious diseases. As Keenan Sorokon reports, the goal is to get as much information and fill in as many blanks as possible.
The province has questions, and it's hoping new mandatory testing rules for hunters will give it the answers it's looking for. After the recent spread of bovine tuberculosis and chronic wasting disease, the province wants to learn more about where these diseases are prevalent.
Historically, we haven't had enough sample size to really accurately say what the prevalence is. And so we need to bump up our samples enough that we can make some accurate estimates of prevalence.
The mandatory zones are limited. 2 zones surrounding Yorkton are for bovine tuberculosis testing after confirmed cases in 2 cattle herds the past 2 years. CWD, which affects the nervous system of deer, elk, and moose, has been an ongoing concern, with Saskatchewan having some of the highest rates on the continent. The mandatory testing zones for CWD affect areas near Nipawin, Choiceland, as well as Meadow Lake and St. Walburg.
A lot of the information that we need is as much about where it isn't as of yet, and as to where it is in the prevalence rate that we have, because we are somewhat ground zero for all of North America.
Moffat says simple testing can help guide policies or regulations moving forward.
CWD could have a population level effect, so harvest management and harvest limits, and also just how to proceed with management of the disease and surveillance of the disease in these areas.
However, Crabb says many hunters have come to accept CWD is here to stay.
They're not going to take any special precautions about how they're going to handle the meat or get it tested.
Hunters in the mandatory testing zones must give the animal's head for testing within 1 month of harvest and wait for results to be posted online in 4 to 6 weeks. Keenan Sorakhan, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Prairie Harm Reduction is remembering those who died from drug overdose. The supervised drug consumption site says numbers from the Saskatchewan Coroner Service show there have been 210 confirmed and suspected overdose deaths in the province this year. It says 20 people who have sought its services are among those who have fatally overdosed. In March, the Saskatchewan Health Authority started issuing overdose alerts for Saskatoon after drugs, often fentanyl-laced with other dangerous drugs, were circulating in the city and causing people to overdose. Prairie Harm Reduction is holding a vigil on August 31st at Station 20 West to remember overdose victims. Finding a family physician is becoming more difficult in Saskatchewan. In Moose Jaw, the provincial opposition is claiming 8 doctors have left the city in the last year. Damien Smith on the crusade for care.
Speaking outside the FH Wigmore Hospital in Moose Jaw, the NDP says another doctor will be leaving the city at the end of August.
That's a crisis for this city and thousands of Moose Jaw residents who rely on these doctors for care.
Citing frontline sources, the NDP says 8 doctors have left Moose Jaw over the past year, driven by factors like burnout and stress, along with 2 retirements. They say if a city of Moose Jaw's size can't retain its doctors, it raises questions about the rest of the province.
Unfortunately, this problem is not limited just to Moose Jaw. It's a pattern across Saskatchewan. As of yesterday, there were 286 vacant physician positions in the province.
The government of Saskatchewan tells CTV News that they are actively working to fill current and upcoming physician vacancies and say that since their Health Human Resources Action Plan was launched in 2022, that Moose Jaw has seen 21 healthcare professionals hired under the Rural and Remote Recruitment Incentive, while 512 physicians have established practice in the province. Additionally, the Saskatchewan Health Authority has expanded medical residency seats and other training opportunities in Moose Jaw, along with La Ronge, Prince Albert, North Battleford, and Swift Current through various partnerships. Still, the opposition says more needs to be done to take the workload off family doctors, saying Saskatchewan holds the second worst provincial rate for doctor retention, behind only Newfoundland.
Families deserve stability and access to care, but the Sask Party is pushing doctors to the brink and out of our province.
Damien Smith, CTV News, Moose Jaw.
Remy Modern is playing host to some international guests. They're in Saskatoon to learn ways of improving agriculture with the help of the synchrotron. Hallie Mandrick has the story.
Saskatoon is home to one of Canada's most powerful scientific tools, called a synchrotron, also known as the Canadian Light Source.
It's a football stadium-sized microscope that allows you to do really fun and important research on many different research questions can be addressed with this fancy tool that we have right here in our backyard.
The Pan American Light Sources for Agriculture is a conference originally created by the Canadian Light Source, which fosters collaboration between synchrotron facilities in Brazil and the United States.
And so these 3 great organizations gathered together and said, we should have a conference which is to do with the applications of synchrotron in agriculture.
Going on its 4th year, the conference is an opportunity to compare ideas and learn from one another regarding the many ways a synchrotron can be used. This year's theme, Advancing Sustainable Agriculture and Food Research.
How crop science is essential to feeding the population, the larger population of Canada. I think that's what synchrotron has to tell us. It helps users actually better understand what's happening in the crop. I think that's the magical part of synchrotron.
Those in attendance say the information shared at this conference is important now more than ever.
At a time when environments are changing and we need our crops to adapt to that, and we also need to look at increasing population and feeding that. It's a time when we need to deploy our high technology approaches to study agriculture.
Hallie Mandrick, CTV News, Saskatoon.
The winners of the Stars lottery were announced today.
Lucky winner of this stunning Saskatoon dream home, which is valued at more than $1.6 million, is Carol Parchman from Moose Jaw.
Mike. Carol Parchman is the winner of this home in Greenbrier Estates near Saskatoon. Lauren Templeton from Regina is the lucky winner of the Stars lottery home in the Regina area, valued at $1.2 million. And the winner of the 50-50 is taking home just under $1 million. The lottery proceeds support Stars emergency services. Still to come, why the U.S. president has called in the National Guard. And is the Air Canada deal really among the best in the industry? You're watching CTV News live from downtown Saskatoon. Thanks for staying with us tonight. Since U.S. President Donald Trump declared a crime emergency, Washington, D.C., 9 days ago, hundreds of armed National Guards have been called into patrol. It comes despite local officials saying crime has actually gone down. CTV's Judy Trinh reports from Washington.
An angry welcome for 3 of Donald Trump's top officials as they walked into Union Station to greet the National Guard. The concerns of protesters were dismissed.
We do not have to allow our cities to be taken over by violence and by disorder and by chaos. The voices that you hear out there, those crazy communists, they have no roots, they have no connections to the city.
But the organizers of this protest are from the city.
We're under a military occupation of our city. This is fascism, this is racism, it's directly targeting Black and brown and working class communities in D.C.
Last week, Trump, citing a crime emergency in Washington, D.C., took over the local police force and called in the National Guard. Since then, the White House says nearly 500 people have been arrested and more than 20 homeless encampments have been dismantled. Hundreds of National Guard members have been stationed near subway stations and national monuments.
Sometimes our mere presence has a deterrent effect on criminal activity, and that's really what we're trying to provide.
The Guards have also been patrolling the poor, predominantly Black and immigrant neighborhoods of D.C. Washington's mayor says that crime is on the decline in the capital, and there's no need for the military to be involved.
You know, it doesn't make sense. The numbers on the ground in the district don't support 1,000 people from other states coming to Washington, D.C.
By law, Trump can only use the National Guard for 30 days without congressional approval. But the president has already said he wants an extension to his emergency order. Judy Trinh, CTV News, Washington, D.C.
We are learning more about the tentative deal the union representing flight attendants reached with Air Canada, a deal that lays out a plan to bump up salaries and put an end to unpaid work. It's resulted in a ramping up of flights for the national carrier, but ongoing delays are still fueling frustrations for passengers. CTV's Adrian Gobriel on what we know about the agreement.
With Air Canada slowly getting its fleet off the ground, industry watchers say parts of the proposed deal will leave some flight attendants deflated.
They won't be able to afford the cost of living and living wage in Toronto and Vancouver.
Air Canada and CUPE have yet to confirm the wage increase being offered, but multiple aviation insiders, including McGill University's John Graddick, say they've seen the numbers.
12% increase immediately for the junior flight attendants, 8% for the more senior flight attendants, and then progressively through the contract, 3.5%, 3%, and then 2.5%.
Though the pay grade for cabin crew with less than 5 years of service will still fall short of what some U.S. carriers offer their staff who work out of major hubs.
If you happen to live in L.A., if you happen to live in New York, or happen to live in Chicago, we're giving you an extra $2,000 a month. And that should get you up to a living wage in those cities where you have a high cost living.
Air Canada flight attendants haven't been receiving an hourly wage while checking in passengers. CTV News has confirmed that the airline is now offering 50% of their hourly rate as ground pay for the first hour of pre-flight work on a narrow-body aircraft and 70 minutes for larger planes. The ground pay rate will increase to 70% by the time the deal expires in 4 years.
The flight attendants at Air Canada felt that this was a negotiating element of their contract that they could get a lot of Canadians to support.
Air Canada's offer of ground pay follows a similar move already made by Delta Airlines in the U.S. It could trigger similar demands by flight attendants at other Canadian carriers. WestJet's contract with its cabin crew expires at the end of the year. A source tells CTV News that CUPE began presenting Air Canada's offer to their members this morning. Voting is expected to be completed by the end of next week. Adrian Gobriel, CTV News, Mississauga, Ontario.
Negotiators for the Canadian Union of Postal Workers and Canada Post returned to the bargaining table today to present offers for both postal bargaining units. The Postal Worker Union's offer includes wage increases in the number of corporate vehicles for rural and suburban mail carriers, and staffing changes at postal facilities, which aim to reduce Canada Post's use of temporary workers. The union's latest offer comes after the workers rejected Canada Post's best and final offers in July. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre held his first news conference since winning a by-election that returns him to Parliament next month.
Our priorities for the fall session are to bring in stronger take-home pay that buys you more, safer streets with criminals behind bars, secure borders with immigration that is under control and lawful, and fourth and finally, a self-reliant Canada, a Canada where we produce our own goods, we export to markets around the world, no longer dependent on the Americans.
Poilievre won the Alberta riding of Battle River Crowfoot Monday night, securing his seat in the House of Commons. He will square off there for the first time against Mark Carney as Prime Minister. The fall sitting begins on September 15th. The Trump administration is ramping up pressure on the International Criminal Court for pursuing investigations into U.S. and Israeli officials for alleged war crimes. The State Department announced new sanctions today on 4 ICC officials, including a Canadian judge. American officials say Kimberly Proust is being penalized for a ruling to authorize an ICC investigation into U.S. personnel in Afghanistan. The investigation was later dropped. The State Department says she and the 3 others being sanctioned directly engaged in efforts by the court to investigate, arrest, detain, or prosecute American and Israeli nationals without the consent of either nation. The sanctions were immediately denounced by the ICC and the United Nations. As a result of the sanctions, any assets that the 2 judges and 2 prosecutors hold in U.S. jurisdictions are frozen. Well, Jeff, some rumbly weather is brewing out there.
It certainly is. We already had reports of some nasty conditions, some hail right now in the Battlefords region, and there are watches and warnings in effect. We'll get to those in a real hurry here. So first of all, rainfall warnings for up north, but in the immediate situation, we still do have tornado warning in areas to the east of the Battlefords, and then we get into some severe thunderstorm warnings for areas around Middle Lake Provincial Park and down towards north of the Battlefords. And down in the southeastern part of the province, some tornado watches in effect and heat warnings. So a lot of things going on in terms of what's happening with regard to, let's see if this works. There we go. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to bring up our numbers. 30 degrees in Saskatoon, 26 in Prince Albert, and 16 in the Battlefords. And, of course, a hailstorm going through the Battlefords right now, and strong winds as well. Saskatoon's Almanac, 30 for a daytime high. That's 6 degrees hotter than seasonal. 37, though, that's the record, and it still stands from 1894. The cold temperature record, 0 degrees from 2004, and the sun's going to go down at 8:21.
Coming up, taking agility to new heights, the challenge that has competitors climbing their way to the top.
All right, welcome back. Well, right now, things look nice and clear here in Saskatoon, but that is not the case in other places. Now, earlier today, we did have some people take some pictures. This is a roll cloud. We had a number of people. Now, there's no location for this one. It is in the Saskatoon area, I believe. Ken sent this one in. And then we also have a shot of a roll cloud. This is from Abby Goldsmith. This was in the Brighton, this is out in the Martinsville area. And then these are all from this morning. And this one, the same cloud from Daryl Hammond, that's in the Brighton neighborhood. This is all around 6 in the morning, and this is what's called a roll cloud. It's similar to a shelf cloud, but it's sort of separated from the clouds, from the thunderstorms thunder clouds that sort of set it up. But yeah, a roll cloud. So thank you to all these individuals who sent in the shot. It's a fairly rare cloud formation to see. So thank you for capturing us and capturing that and sending those images in. Now, closer to home, we've got a lot of active weather going on here. I pointed this out earlier before. We do have some severe weather making its way through the prairie provinces, including Saskatchewan. We've got a hailstorm going on in the Battlefords right now. 30 degrees in Saskatoon, 26 in Prince Albert, and a hailstorm and thunderstorm rather in Battleford, 17, but the winds are to the northeast at 26. Estevan and Moose Jaw were the hot spot today, 34 degrees. The cold spot, Stony Rapids, at just 4 degrees, so a 30-degree range there. Into our larger communities, 22 degrees in Lloydminster, 29 in Swift Current, 32 in Moose Jaw, 31 in Regina right now, 29 degrees at the present time in Yorkton, and 34 in Estevan. In central parts of the province, temperatures ranging from 17 degrees in Meadow Lake, and Battleford's dealing with some rain, so that's why it's cooled off, but it gets as hot as 31 degrees in Rosetown, and Watrous, it's 30 right here in Saskatoon, 29 in Kindersley. Up north, still fairly warm. Temperatures ranging from 18 in Key Lake up to 23, and that is in Sandy Bay, Island Falls. And down south, temperatures in the high 20s to low 30s, as you can see. Last Mountain Provincial Park, a regional park rather, at 33 degrees, 34 in Carlisle, 31 in Weyburn, 24 in East End, 28 in Coronach, and 29 in Melville. So here's our radar shot here, and as you get our futurecast, you can certainly see the projections indicate a lot of active weather, particularly northern areas, especially just the rain variety. So here we go. Rainfall warnings in effect for parts of northern Saskatchewan. These locations may see between 40 and 60 millimeters of rain when all is said and done. That little piece of red that you see just to the east of the Battlefords, that is a tornado warning, so please be careful. We do have severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for areas north of the Battlefords up towards Meadow Lake Provincial Park and areas. And then along with the heat warnings, we have severe thunderstorm watch boxes across much of Saskatchewan, and tornado watches are in effect for parts of southeastern Saskatchewan. So some potentially dangerous weather across the province right now. Cloudy skies in La Ronge and Stony Rapids tomorrow with temperatures around 18 degrees, slightly cooler thanks to the rain in Buffalo Narrows and Key Lake on Thursday. Windy and mainly sunny conditions in place for many areas of west central Saskatchewan. Temperatures in the high teens, low 20s. We've got ourselves lots of sunshine and temperatures around 23 degrees for southwestern Saskatchewan. Warmer conditions, but just in parts of southeastern Saskatchewan. 27 in Estevan, 25 in Moose Jaw and Regina, 24 in Yorkton under mainly cloudy skies, and mainly cloudy conditions in east central Saskatchewan, but quite windy conditions along with those mainly cloudy skies in Watrous and Humboldt. 21 for Melfort, 23 for Watrous, 20 in Humboldt, and 22 in Hudson Bay. For the Battlefords, of course, the showers and thunderstorm activity tapering off tonight. 13 degrees, 19 tomorrow with windy conditions, 21 on Friday, Saturday 22, but then a really significant warm-up as we make our way into next week. 1 week from today, 31 degrees. Prince Albert in the area dropping down to 14 degrees, 20 tomorrow with mainly cloudy skies. The weekend, not bad, 20 degrees on Saturday, Sunday 21, and then warming up to 28 1 week from today under sunny skies, and 13 degrees for Saskatoon overnight. A slight chance of showers, risk of a thunderstorm, mainly cloudy but windy conditions on Thursday. Friday, a high of 20, 21 on Saturday, 23 on Sunday, and kicking off your work week at 27, which is nicely above seasonal. And here is some video from viewer Gene Paulus in the Battlefords. This is the hailstorm that is going on not too many minutes ago. So thank you, Gene, for sharing these images. And yeah, it's sad to see that the hail has shown up in the Battlefords and North Battleford area. But we've got ourselves some nasty conditions in that respect. So.
Hope we didn't wait too long.
Rebecca and Rebecca, you are the last team to arrive. I am sorry to tell you this, but you have been eliminated from the race.
Yeah.
A Saskatchewan contestant has been eliminated from the Amazing Race Canada. Rebecca Morasti, whose hometown is Meadow Lake, and her best friend, also named Rebecca, receiving the news on last night's episode of the show. The Rebeccas, as they become known, were the first all-Indigenous female team on the Amazing Race Canada. 6 teams are now left to compete as the 11th season continues. You can watch the Amazing Race Canada Tuesdays on CTV, CTV.ca, and the CTV app, and it also streams the next day. The thrill of victory followed by the agony of defeat, sort of, for partygoers at a Las Vegas nightclub when a surprise performance by Justin Bieber turned out to be a hoax. American DJ Griffin was performing inside the Wynn Hotel when he was told Bieber wanted to perform. Someone came up to the mic and took the stage. The Bieber doppelganger was actually 29-year-old Dylan DeClos, who even has the same tattoos as the pop star. He reportedly racked up a $10,000 tab, which he paid, but he's been banned from the casino for life. It's gonna be a long summer. We'll be together. Keith Urban just launched a Rising Star Scholarship for the next generation of country singers. He's partnered with the Tamworth Country Music Festival, and the lucky recipient will receive unprecedented access to Nashville's music scene. They'll be able to perform and have 2 days of recording time in Urban's studio.
All right, Jeff, you were out meeting a dog named Doug today?
And at least one human being. The Tundra from Ends Toyota is back at Early's Farm and Garden, and we're getting ready for the annual Break the Tundra event. We don't really want to break it, but we are here to help raise money and dog food for Waynar and Brent Arstall, founder of Waynar. We all need a rescue. Dog Rescues with us. So you've been doing this for many years, but for people who don't know what it is, tell us.
Well, this is our big food drive that we have throughout the year. This is the biggest one. So working with Early's and Horizon, we get a very special purchase of this food one time a year, and that's this Saturday, the 23rd. And with the help of Ends Toyota, we're able to haul it and have a great event. And so our goal is to raise as much food as possible in one day.
All right, and of course, it's a special price, and then you make that donation to Waynar and plunk it in the back of the truck here. And but you know, before we wrap up here, you got to tell us who we got.
We have Doug. Doug is 5 years old, and he's actually up for adoption, and he'll be here on Saturday, and hopefully you can come down and meet him, have a burger, because we'll have our barbecue, and hopefully support us with the dog food.
All right, so it's an adoption day, a barbecue, and of course, overall, it is the Break the Tundra event right here at Early's Farm and Garden. What are the hours?
From 11 till 3.
From 11 till 3 on Saturday. We'll see you there. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Doug.
All right. Time for pick of the day. What do you have?
We have a triple hit, so let's get going. We're going to start off with this one. Yes, my monster tomato weighing in at 1.27 kilos. That is 2.8 pounds for those at home. But this one from Linda in Edam. The next one comes to us from Andy Renault, a regular contributor. Our friendly dragonfly came for a visit. This is out in Tisdale. It's a great shot of a dragonfly eating the mosquitoes. Well, not right now, but they do like to eat mosquitoes. And finally, Lois sends us this one. Happy 16th birthday, Rev, my retired agility partner. That's a good-looking dog. Yeah, happy birthday, Rev. And, or it might be Reeve. Still, we will say that if you'd like to share news with us, you can do it by sending it to cfqcnews@ctv.ca.
Still to come on CTV News, climbing their way to the top. How Saskatoon is set to welcome a competition that's a far reach for some. Professional tree climbers have their sights set on Saskatoon. Kinsman Park is set to host a prairie tree climbing competition this weekend. Allison Bamford on the challenge that is taking things to new heights.
Hard work under a hot summer sun. It's a short climb, 20 feet up, to cut down this dead spruce, a job that sometimes takes James Luchuk 85 feet off the ground.
Not everybody gets to kind of see that view every day, and it's an accomplishment when you do.
Now the professional arborist is chasing a new accomplishment, branching out to compete at his first prairie tree climbing championship. At the root of it, climbers scale up trees as fast as they can, participating in 5 different events that test their strength, agility, and techniques.
Competition is based a lot around just working situations.
Now in a few days, the trees in Kinsman Park will be filled with competitors from across the prairies. 45 of them trying to climb their way to the top of the podium in hopes of booking a ticket to the International Championship next fall. Many are training just by doing their jobs.
It's definitely strenuous. You're always constantly thinking. You basically get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
It's a feeling that's always worth it once the job is done.
Not everybody does this kind of work, but I love it. Once you kind of get to that top where you get to remove that top, you kind of get an exhilarance.
And Luchuk hopes to feel the same rush on the podium. Allison Bamford, CTV News, Saskatoon.
When we come back, the riders get ready for their next matchup. And later, the record that's getting quite the charge.
All right, welcome back. Take a look at our rural forecast for tomorrow. Well, as we mentioned, temperatures are expected to be cooler, and that's certainly true for Meadow Lake and Lloydminster. Kindersley, 22 degrees, but still cooler than seasonal, and windy conditions there. Windy as well in Watrous, 22 degrees for a high in Hudson Bay and in Wynyard and in Outlook. As we make our way down south, temperatures don't jump up a lot. They jump up a little bit, but a lot more in the way of sunshine. Windy conditions around Rosetown, 22, but getting up to 26 degrees in Coronach and Carlisle, 25 in Pilot Butte and Broadview, 22 in the corner there in East End, Maple Creek at 24 degrees. And here's what we expect for La Loche. La Loche, well, it'll be one of those locations that is under that rainfall warning, or at least part of the system that is getting all that rain. We're expecting maybe up to 25 millimeters of rain in the La Loche area tomorrow, 13 for a high, and still a chance of a thunderstorm. So that's how things are shaping up in La Loche. And it's one of the communities where internet plans of 1 gig are available from SaskTel.
Welcome back to another edition of X's and O's with Wes Cates. Once again, the Riders have the game of the week this time. It'll be in Calgary against the Stampeders, and this is the team that beat the Riders so far in the first half of the season. And the big thing was Vernon Adams Jr. really got things going. They got more than 500 yards offense. Damian Alford, the rookie, unbelievable. 2 touchdowns, 6 catches, more than 150 yards. So this was kind of the breakdown for the Riders defense. They're playing a lot better now. What do you foresee?
Yeah, I feel like it was a slow process, but the Riders basically took their time kind of working through their coverage schemes with that defensive secondary, kind of sitting back and playing things of that read defense as people have been describing it. So I think that the Riders have perfected that to an extent, right? You're never perfect, but they definitely are playing some great football. We've seen them going up against Montreal, and then last week, obviously, things are working on defense. They're getting home to the quarterback with 4 and 5 rushers, so the 4 D linemen are doing their job, and when they do send pressure, it seems to be getting home. So I think as far as the defense is concerned, they've ironed out some of those issues they had the first time they saw Calgary, and it was just, I felt like with that delay of a day, it was just a weird game, and it was just one of those letdowns that had plenty of excuses behind it. So that was kind of an anomaly, and I feel like this will be a different Riders team, and obviously Calgary will come in with you know, a little bit of fire behind them, because obviously you want to take out the #1 team, and Calgary's playing some good football, so it won't be an easy task. I won't say that, but I think the Riders have fixed some of those issues.
Offensively, Trevor Harris had a great game. He threw for more than 400 yards against Calgary, but it was just they lost the battle in the trenches. A.J. Ouellette, no holes, 6 carries for 9 yards. You're going to have a tough time even if you throw for 400 yards if they're not running the football well.
Well, yeah, for sure. And I don't know what happened with Mark Mueller that week. I guess maybe they got a little down and got away from the run, but it's one of those things where you have to kind of just hand off the ball, let teams know that you're going to commit to the run, stay consistent. It wasn't like they were totally out of the game, so it kind of surprised me that they did abandon the run. I understand that a few of the runs got stuffed. But that's another thing that the riders have gotten better at, is just kind of sticking to the run, making sure it's a part of the offense, and then working some play action and the passing game off of that. So I think if the last few weeks have been any indication, I think the riders are going to be okay on the ground as well.
Now, we got to talk about it. Brett Loeffler, 2 for 5 in the last game against Hamilton. He's 66.7%. That's worst in the league right now. They signed Campbell Fair, a Canadian. So we know they're going to bring somebody in. Obviously, they already have. But my question to you is, do you maybe consider bringing in an American kicker? Winnipeg's the only one that has it right now with Sergio Castillo, and I mean, he's kicking 60-yarders occasionally.
I mean, I think at this point right now, Lowther's put himself in a position for this situation to arise. So if the riders are I would say the riders management is looking. If there's somebody comes up that's willing to come up here and, you know, hang around for a few weeks and just see how it is. The one thing about the U.S. compared to Canada is kicking off the tee. Most kickers like to kick off of a tee, so that should be a plus. But there might be some Americans that may be available, but they don't want to switch it up and kick off of a tee and kind of mess up their opportunities down south with it still being so early for the NFL season. But at the end of the day, I think that what we have is what we're going to get. And I think it really just comes down to Brett Lowther just focusing in, understanding that, okay, like I've had some issues. I need to challenge myself. Now the team is challenging me by bringing in some competition. So I need to step up. And I think he's the type of individual, he's proven that when the chips are really on the line, he steps up and handles his business.
All right, fair enough, Campbell Fair. We'll see what happens with this situation. But we'll analyze the game versus Calgary and look forward to the Labor Day game against Winnipeg on another edition of X's and O's next week.
Small businesses are struggling to survive the ripple effects of the trade war, and they're looking to Ottawa for help. Marilla Fernandez has more on that.
Canadian small business owners are being squeezed by the trade war. The Canadian Federation of Independent Business says 59% of the owners they polled are affected by steel and aluminum duties. It is not only raising costs, but cutting revenue. About 1 in 5 small business owners says they won't last another 6 months without help. More of a mixed day on the markets. A small dip for the Canadian dollar to 72.08. West Texas Intermediate is up, hitting 62.71. Western Canadian Select is down more than $1 to 48.44, and the TSX moved up 54 points today. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
Coming up, setting a railway record with a big battery boost. Then who's proving to be the top dog in Canadian households?
Select Hair Services brought to you by Sage, the beauty bar.
We've got another great night of entertainment coming up right here on CTV, starting at 7 with Master Chef. Well, a battery-powered train has set a new world record for the longest journey on a single charge. It traveled more than 320 kilometers between Reading, London, and Oxford. Great Western Railway says this proves battery trains can be a viable alternative to diesel trains in the future. The record was achieved while the train was traveling between 48 and 64 kilometers per hour and without heating. The company says more than 190 kilometers could have been achieved traveling at full speed. So there you go.
Well, it's the wave of the future.
Yes, it is. All right. Well, pet services site Rover is out with this year's list of the most popular dog breeds in Canada. For the first time ever, the top 5 are unchanged from last year. Mixed breeds are the #1 choice once again. That's followed by golden retrievers, labs, and golden doodles. German shepherds round out the top 5 on the list. The survey also finds that nearly half of dog owners would choose the same breed again, and almost 7 out of 10 say loyalty is the most important trait in a dog.
So when they say mixed breeds, they mean mongrels? Is that what we're talking about here? Okay. Well, I didn't know if that.
I didn't dig into the survey too.
Well, no, I just didn't know if that's what that means. Mixed breeds. Okay, fair enough then. So, and which are great. You know, the dogs I've had are mixed breeds. So anyways, if that's what we mean. Let's take a quick look at our watches and warnings. And just to let you know, there was a warning in effect for the Waskesiu and Dorantosh and Meadow Lake areas. That has been lifted. There's still a tornado warning in effect for areas in and around the Battlefords. So keep that in mind. Please be careful. And then just to the south of that area, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect. There's lots of thunderstorm watch boxes in effect, and there's still a tornado watch in effect for parts of southeastern Saskatchewan.
Be careful out there.
Be careful out there, and yes, a lot of rain coming to parts of northern Saskatchewan as well.
And we welcome any video or photos of any.
Yes, we do.
But
thank you, Gene Paulus.
Take them safely, though. Thanks for watching.